Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with episode 300. 300. And I have had the same beginning intro song for 300 episodes. If you go back, I feel like I used to play it for even longer. It'd be on for a while, but I can't believe this is my 300th podcast episode. I know I said I would do something special, but we are just getting a regular episode with an extra zest in my voice, you could say. First, though, I want to express how grateful I am for those of you who take the time out of your life and your mind to listen to me. From the people who are new to my podcast to the OG day one followers of my podcast, it has been a ultimate journey. And I know when people are like, oh, I listen, I'm like, thank you. I'm so grateful you're listening. I'm not just like joshing you guys around or just like, saying something silly. I honestly feel when I hear someone listening or I know that someone continues to listen, my heart beams out and my smile, and that is very true. And when I say I am grateful, I am internally grateful for you guys who really do listen. And again, from the new people to my day one, I have some day ones who have been with me for pretty much all of my episodes. Maybe they have skipped maybe 10 out of the 300. That is a blessing to me. That is a serious blessing to me. For those of you who don't know, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background and then we'll jump into the astrology of the week. We are entering Leo season today, but not until East Coast time, 3:13 p.m. East Coast time here will we enter Leo season. So we're waking up still in Cancer season. For those of you who don't know, I began recording my podcast in 2019 at our color table at Capriati Salon. I recorded 20 episodes with my clients about their personal lives. January 2020 was my release date. Oh, and I started releasing them, and then we know COVID was building. And so my last episode I recorded in the salon was the week before we got shut down for COVID. It must have been like March 5th or something because we got shut down like the 13th. It was the Friday before that weekend that we got everything shut down. And I had one of my clients at the time, Alan, and we did an interview. And I remember him and I talking on this episode about there was no way the world was going to shut down. I was like, I got to find that episode because I'm so curious. I just remember him and I were both like, no, there's no way. Like, there's talks of it. We understand it's taking over, but there's no way it's going to shut down the world. And to see how that has developed for, I guess that would have been, 280 episodes ago is pretty crazy because as we know, the world shut down. And then I opened my podcast up to people I met online. I started really in 2018, I started really getting myself out there online and building. And so my next 80 episodes on my podcast from the first 20 are interviews with people all over the world. And I remember I had like this polyamorous couple from Australia. I have a podcast episode with them. I actually have like 3 or 4 podcast episodes of people from Australia. This girl who's still on my social media who is a very talented singer trying to put herself out there. I'm trying to think. I mean, someone who does like magic in LA. I did an interview with him. Like I had some pretty wild episodes and then everyone was at home. So literally everybody was like, yeah, I'll be on your podcast. I would love to be on a podcast and I have nothing better to do. I should honestly go back and just listen to those when I think about that. But during that time, I was finishing up with my online astrology school at Nightlight Astrology that I had begun in 2018 and I was getting more confident. And at the beginning of those episodes during COVID, I would sort of give like a full moon, new moon prediction at the beginning of every episode. And then in 2021, it went from the Hair Healer podcast to the Weekly Awakening podcast. And the last 200 episodes have all been that same format that I'm using. I've thrown through a few interviews in there, and maybe I'll get back to that because I know I was very good at interviewing people. But with my schedule, with my life, it all got too much. Like, setting a time up, doing what I needed to do to promote the episodes. It was like, okay, right now, this is so much easier to wake up in the morning, go over my astrology, and do it that format. So, again, you guys have really followed me. And it's funny because to see from my 2020, when I would do like a 5-minute full moon, new moon before my interview, to where I am now and the confidence and the build and the studying I've continued to do, even when I have finished those courses, it's been beautiful to see. So I'm tooting my own horn. I know you guys are tooting it for me too. But I have never given up. In 300 episodes, I have never made money. I've never asked for money. and just your support in getting this podcast out there. I probably could have made a ton of money. I probably could have made this from day one of the most popular podcasts if I wasn't a single mother with 2 kids. My favorite thing to do is talk. Shout out all, my Mercury self. But also, I love sharing the astrology information. I love it. I believe it. I see it. I know a lot of my hair clients I discuss with also listen to my podcast. So I'm sort of helping them. And really using this information to awaken our mind and bring awareness to our spirituality, our soul, is something that, keeps me in line, right? I love giving it away for free. I love helping people. I love sharing people, but it also helps keep me in the straight and narrow. It helps me say, okay, I'm telling everyone else they have to do this or seek this awareness, and it puts it in my brain that I also have to. I would, I always said I would quit if I got sick of doing this, right? If it didn't fulfill my soul anymore. But here we are, 300 episodes later. And again, I still love it. I still doing it, Sometimes you guys have been with me where I've had to take a 2-week break, a 3-week break, but I actually love it. So again, I just want to say thank you again for everyone who is supporting my podcast, whether you're new, you're old, you're returning. You have no idea how much that means to me when I say that, and I'm not bullshitting you. I thank you all, and I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Here we are, 300 episodes. Now, I am returning from my 2 weeks away, where I told you guys I drove down to my sister's, the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. We stopped at Dollywood, Pigeon Forge, Chattanooga. We did the National Park, the Smoky Mountains. And the most driving I'd ever done was to Lower Virginia. So this was the longest car ride ever. And I loved it, honestly. I'm a big Mercury placement. And usually Mercury loves the road. Virgo and Geminis, they love to drive. They love to go. So this was definitely true because I really didn't think it was that bad, especially with stopping, and staying different places. I really enjoyed it. But we flew back, and now I am back into it, back into the grind of life. So let's jump right into the astrology. We are now a few weeks into Jupiter and Leo. Things are moving fast, like I said, and we're finishing out Mercury retrograde in Cancer. I spoke to a lot of my cardinal placements over these last couple weeks, and it seems like this Mercury retrograde with the square to Saturn in Aries has been very hard for my cardinal placements. Or even, I have a couple friends that are Geminis, and they have a bunch of they have their Mercury in Cancer, they have their Venus in Cancer, and they have been, struggling. So anyone with cardinal placements, especially we're really beginning this Saturn in Aries, it hasn't been easy Mercury retrograde. But now I will say, let's talk about a little bit what's happening. Then I'll jump more into this Mercury retrograde. Next Monday, the 20th, I guess that was just this past Monday, Jupiter, I started doing my notes whenever I was flying home on Friday, but I guess this Jupiter in Leo trines Neptune retrograde in Aries. Good for my fire signs. The sun, like I said, ingresses today into Leo at 3:13 p.m. And then on July 23rd, Mercury stations direct in the sign of Cancer. So any mercurial Mercury issues should be moving ahead nicely. Communication should even itself out. You should be getting some better news. Anything that felt like it was resistance should be moving slowly. If there is still resistance, it is not meant for you. On Sunday, the 26th, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries. I'll be back to talk more on that on next week's episode. And the nodes move into Leo and Aquarius. We are finishing out the nodes out of Pisces and Virgo and moving into Leo and Aquarius. However, we will still have 2 more eclipses, 1 more in Virgo and 1 more in Pisces. The outer planets are having some intense energy this coming week. Like Monday, we had the Jupiter trine Neptune, Jupiter opposing, this is just Monday the 20th, Pluto, Jupiter sextile Uranus, Pluto retrograde, sextile Neptune retrograde. I quit caffeine, guys, like 27 days ago, but I am still, now I'm on this mushroom coffee, but no decaf. It's decaf, no caffeine. The sun on the 28th, we'll oppose Pluto retrograde, but we'll try Neptune retrograde. So again, that is a lot of fire and air energy. So definitely buckle up, my babes, because we're going for a ride. Let's talk briefly, though, about this current Mercury retrograde in Cancer. People with Cancer placements, Moon, Rising Sun, Mercury. But let's add in there, like I said, the Geminis with Mercury in Cancer, because that seemed to be really still hard as well. Cancers, Capricorns, Libras, Aries, all had this Mercury retrograde either in conjunction, opposition, or square Saturn in Aries, which we know Saturn just ingressed into Aries. So this is all sort of new things popping up. This brought maybe some hard realities that really had you seeking your truth, seeing your truth, and speaking your truth, or hearing the truth. And I mean the harsh truth. Saturn in Aries brings the harsh truth. A lot of things will clear up or make sense once Mercury stations direct. However, some of you have experienced some super complicated things, which means it may not clear up when Mercury stations direct, but you will feel like you know what direction you need to move forward with a plan that makes sense for you. So if not everything clears up, it wasn't hunky-dory easy, then you will at least have an idea when Mercury stations direct, like, okay, now moving forward, this is what I need to do to make this situation better, to feel better, for things to work out. As well as the number one lesson that Mercury is always trying to teach you is how to be flexible and how to go with the flow no matter what life is showing you. Mercurial placements do that best. That's just like a natural energy. Like every astrology sign has a natural energy that comes to Mercury placements, Gemini, Virgo. So this is all little lessons, especially for my cardinal placements, to say, all right, this didn't quite work out the way I wanted to, but how do I change my mindset? How do I be okay with what's happening in front of me? Now, we enter Leo season today at 3:13 p.m. Eastern, and it will begin conjuncting the energy, but the exact conjunction, however, won't happen until Wednesday the 29th next week at 8:17 a.m., right before the full moon in Aquarius. So there's a lot happening next week. I definitely will be back to talk more about that, but this Leo season is going to start out with a big boom. Bring on the extra energy, the extra hope, the extra belief, the extra wisdom, the extra connections. I feel like Leos themselves are going to have an even bigger magnet of attraction on them. Leos bring people together. They're ruled by the sun. So just like the sun keeps the solar system and the planets, everything together, that's what Leos do. And with all this fire energy happening, I do feel like there is going to be an even more positive shift in the collective, like all the astrologers have said before me just recently. But I do want to add that the other shoe doesn't always drop. I do feel like, though, this is going to be a really positive bubble, but I still think our world has so much healing to do. That it's not going to be one great change that everyone is seeking that's just going to happen this week or next week and then the world's changing, but I believe it is going to be a hope shot. And even individually, you will have a hope shot. My Leos, my fixed placements, my cardinal placements, there will be a hope shot. And some ideas and concepts of how we can get there. How can we make our world better? Not even just the collective world, but our own personal world. But I want to be realistic. I said back in 2020 on one of my first 40 episodes, I guess it would have been maybe the first 60 because it was after the first 20 were released, when COVID had happened, that this was going to be a big shakeup of the world. And it was going to take well over a decade to shake out into a good way. We're only halfway through. Everything is changing and nothing has felt real since COVID has even begun. But everything is changing in a big way. And with all this outer planet energy happening, we're in a renaissance, but even more so now it's kicking up. We're in it thick and we don't see the light yet, but we can't see it yet because we're in this renaissance. Everything is just so crazy and being changed and being exposed all at once. So we can't control the outside world right now, but we can control ourselves and our inner world. And believe it or not, if everybody who listens to this podcast really worked on their mind, body, and soul into changing and shifting their own realities, that would trickle out to everybody else out there in the world. So just keep that in mind. Leos, I feel like you guys are getting your razzle dazzle back. After spending the last 2 years with an opposition to Pluto and Aquarius, beginning each Leo season, the last two Leo seasons were not that typical fun Leo season because we had that opposition to Pluto just beginning. And this year we don't have Jupiter there giving the expansion of luck and feel good. So this season, I think, it's going to feel heavy, not lighter, but heavier in a positive way. It's still going to be a little intense because we're still in that opposition to Pluto, but you have more hope. You have faith. You should feel better, my Leo placements, than you have in these last 2 years, beginning of this Leo season again. With Jupiter and Leo, my fixed signs, my fixed placements are now going to be forced to change their mind, body and spirit about some things that you really didn't want to change your mind on. Fixed placements can be really hard, like I said, when it comes to changing their mind, especially fixed Mercuries, But you will feel more compelled to, like, you're going to be more compelled to do it because it's almost like something is forcing you to seek out old wisdom and bring it into new ways into your life. And old wisdom, saying like old, for some reason it feels like for you guys, it's going to be old knowing wisdom that's already been inside you, but you maybe forgot about, or you just tucked away, or you just didn't give a fuck about it. Fixed placements are going to finally not feel so stuck for once. You're going to be forced to change what no longer is serving you. So Jupiter is popping your comfort bubble, we could say, especially of letting go of control of everything you thought you knew about your life, morals, beliefs, and understandings. Jupiter is going to come in and change that a little bit. When Jupiter trines Neptune, that is going to bring your dreams and visions alive, especially for my fire placements right now. This is a time to have faith and manifest your dreams. Sometimes I know that I sound like a broken record, but manifesting needs to be a daily practice and a daily reminder. Even if you are trying to manifest a happy day, it's much deeper than saying I want a happy day and then doing nothing to change your mindset. You could say you want a happy day, but it is so complex and our mind is so complex that we have to put a work in. Just simply manifesting happy and free day is work. Yes, definitely start out your day with saying, I want to have a good day. But you can't just say, I want to have a good day, and then not change your mindset. That is literally stopping you from having a good day because we live in an overcomplicated mind area. So I would say I am definitely, not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to, a manifesting pro. But I can tell you all that I've studied, my daily practices, and if I told you, you'd be like, oh shit, she put some work into it. And some of you who've known me a long time know what I have put into it, but it's about changing your mindset in order to change your frequency. I tell myself all the time that, so many times I am still like, I'm a fucking seasoned, like change my mind to live in my paradigm person. But I am still often weekly telling myself in certain situations, it doesn't matter, Colleen. Now I can switch quickly, right? I can say it doesn't matter, Colleen, and I can literally erase whatever was just bothering me and taking me out of my mind. It's taking me out of my joyful vibration. And again, I do it pretty quickly, but it wasn't always the case like that. I literally had to spend time and repetitive work for years. When I really got started, and I'll just give you a little tidbit, but when I got started, I would, if I told you about what I did for manifesting and to change my mind, to change my paradigm, I would need a whole other podcast episode about it. But I really started in 2015 when I started with exercises where I would write out things I wanted and really needed. I was a single mom at the time. I had to figure out how to afford to move out of my kid's father's house with nobody helping me. So what I did is I literally dove straight. I went to Bob Proctor. All of his stuff was free. And I spent a year like it was a college course. I'm talking, I would write every single day for months that I will always be able to afford rent and a life for my children. And sometimes I would even write it with my left hand, and I would write it 20 to 30 times a day. And I'm talking just that exercise alone, I probably did for like a 5-month span. I used to record things in my voice and then listen to them. Like I will always be able to afford my rent. I will always have a career. Like those were the big things that like worried me back then that I tried to manifest. But it's even got as simple as like, I've been to every country I manifested 10 years ago. And like, that's what I'm saying. But I had to put in the work. So even if you just want to manifest a simple day, you can say that, but you need to start putting in the work to changing your mind. And then you'll get to a point, like I said, where I feel myself wondering, taking myself out of my joyful vibration. And I'm like, get the fuck together, Colleen. That shit doesn't matter. Literally almost nothing matters. And now I can like pull myself out of it like that. And if you want that, it will take the work. So put in the work for your future. If you want to have change in your frequency, you have to change your mind. This is a time, though, where it's going to be easy for you to come alive in your beliefs. Jupiter is there to give you a jolt of hope around you that you formerly didn't believe you had. And you're going to want to hold on to that, and you're going to want to change with this hope. That's your weekly awakening. Every time you find yourself having a fearful thought, say the opposite of that fearful thought. Say, I believe in myself. And with Jupiter in there for my fire signs, you're going to really like have a comeback there. You're going to after this episode say, shit, I need to start following Bob Proctor, R.I.P. He died a couple years ago. I need to start changing my paradigm. What is the work that I need to put into it? I tell my kids, and I feel like I say this all the time in episode 2, you need to be working out your mind as hard as you work out your body, if not harder. Fire signs, like I said, my babies, you guys are going to have a real rebirth this year after these last few years of stress, things defeating your spirit. This time, your spirits are going to be lifted again. You're going to have faith again. It may not be one big faith cloud for everyone. It might for some, but not for everyone. It may just be small rebirths in faith somewhere in your life, in a sense of renewal, that things are going to work out, that you believe in yourself again. You know, it could be tiny little faiths that all equal one big one, or some of you might have a giant, like, oh my God, I'm having faith in everything in my life again. I'm going to call this week in Leo season the jumper cables of hope and faith. We're getting a nice jolt. With the opposition to Pluto and Aquarius, it's going to be adding fuel to the fire. But I want to look at that in a good way, though. I look at that as standing your ground because you finally believe in your ground, you finally believe in your message, and you finally believe in yourself. Sorry, just sipping on my mushroom coffee. So that's my 300th episode, and I still believe in myself. And I'm going to be back next week with episode 301, the following week with 302. But what I ask you guys for the weekly awakening is please take this time for yourself to work out your mind. And if you put the work in now, years from now, when you hear yourself in your brain going down that rabbit hole, you will be able to pull yourself out in seconds. And maybe you got to pull yourself out 10 times in a day in seconds. But you will do that. I love you all. Welcome to Leo season. Welcome to things being bigger and extra. Like I said, I think Leo season is going to be much better than the last 2 Leo seasons. So I'm excited about that and getting a razzle dazzle energy on. I love you all. The best way, again, to support this podcast, rate, review, subscribe, post about it on social media, and send this to a friend. You got a Leo friend, you got a Sagittarius friend, an Aries friend. Say, hey, I think that you should listen to this to feel what's happening. Thank you all. I love you and goodbye.